today I'm putting on makeup. I like listening to Dr. Carey.
It's not my problem, and I'm not gonna. What I should have said to myself: this person is sick. It's not my problem, and I'm not gonna be the punching bag. He gets to work out his anger about women and how women look.
Primer.
The degree that things can go terribly wrong, like catastrophically wrong. We're actually fortunate we don't experience more of that. We're very fragile.
Can be so mistaken, misguided to spend too much time thinking about someone else, the abuser, because ultimately it misses the point that a lot of this stuff is beyond our control.
Well, then, have you noticed how people who are emotionally mature, particularly narcissists, have a lot of difficulty with proper names, use of names?
Yes.
I don't know if you've read Love You More or not, but what happened with me is, and he did this with everybody that he met. My ex would give a woman a nickname, and he would use the nickname a lot. And I tried to convey that in the story. So the nickname for me was Gorgeous. Now, here's the thing that I usually don't say out loud, but I'm going to go ahead and say it out loud. I knew it was there was contempt in the use of that name. I knew that he had somehow latched on real fast to one of my core insecurities, which is I'm the oldest 3 girls. We're all actually nice-looking women, but my middle sister is exotic looking. So it isn't that she's gorgeous; it's she looks different. We're a little bit of Indian, and she looks Indian. So when you meet her, she's got black hair, almost black eyes. Her skin is olive, and when she's close to countries that have that look, she's either mistaken as Latin American or Indian. She gets asked if she's Indian. Growing up with that, and my father had issues with his loss of heritage around being a part of the Chippewa tribe and being raised by a grandma who was a quarter of Native American. That was really important to him. So they hyper-focused on my sister's appearance, to the exclusion of my other sister and I, which made us feel like we were as pretty.
Yeah.
So we almost got our focus was I was the smart one and my youngest sister was the funny one. So I always walked through like, I knew I was bright, but I didn't think I was particularly good looking. So somehow he picked that up, and I don't know why, because it wasn't something I shared with him. I probably never. This is probably the most in depth I've ever gotten into it before. But he would say Gorgeous, and he would use it almost I'm not kidding, every sentence.
I didn't bring
hey,
my
Gorgeous,
mirror.
do you think we should go over there, Gorgeous? What do you think about that, Gorgeous? Do you think that's like literally peppered the conversation to the point that it felt like ad nauseum? It was
I had better grab my mirror.
But when things would go bad in our relationship, suddenly like I was cured, and I knew that I'd been demoted in that moment from. Even though it was like, it felt special, and people might think, oh, that's sweet, you think she's gorgeous. I didn't quite feel it that way, but I felt like I lost that. Whatever that privilege was, though it was very mixed bag, I lost it when he was enraged with me.
Yeah.
Have you noticed this funny pattern?
With names, specifically,
Yeah.
absolutely. Similar, but not quite the same. I noticed that the guy that I would say, he
like going through catalog.
give the sense of searching, which in the first month I kind of thought, okay, I don't know why he's doing that, but it's still early days and we've only seen each other a few times over the course of this month, so all right. But it went on and on and on, and I realised that either he was doing it because he genuinely was thinking, hold on a minute.
Hi Faith Walker, 16SHP, how are you?
But I didn't know that then. Who am I with? But it has the kind of secondary benefit of creating that sense of, God, he doesn't even seem to really know my name. And back to what we said in other conversations, because I didn't want to be like rude or moody or difficult, rather than saying, actually, I find that really offensive. Like, is there any reason that you can't just say my name? I didn't say anything, which feeds into the whole thing, doesn't it? Because then they kind of know that they've sort of got you where they want you, because they are deliberately undermining you by doing that for any reason. But they also watch you not saying anything about it, so therefore kind of abandoning yourself. So they've kind of co-opted you into the process by you not saying anything about it. So that was a definite searching for my name was a real thing, and I found it extremely irritating.
Because here's what I found that I thought was fascinating and surprising to me about working with people. I worried I was going to start to see clients and I knew I'd be seeing 6 to 8 a day if I was working full time, that I would forget who they are and forget their history. Because to me, I was worried it was like shelving library books, and then I might not
Good.
remember.
Oh, okay, I'm not too bad. Yeah.
I would have to look or recall I would read their history in front of me to be
I'm
with them.
gonna make
But
up.
here's what it was actually like. It was as if you were my neighbor or my friend, and when you came in and told me your story, I got to know you, And
can
then
see
when
the
I thought of
chat.
you, I thought of all the pieces that went with you. I didn't need an index
I can
card
see
in
the
front of me or
chat,
the
and
history sheet
I
in
can
front of me. I knew
see
you had 3 kids,
my
and you were
makeup.
struggling with marriage, and your oldest kid was the problem. And I already knew all of that when you sat down because it would be like picking up with my neighbor.
Now what happened? That's okay. Playback paused because your account is being used. That's not new. Oh.
Across the street when I have coffee with her or whatever. What hits me about this issue with
That's weird.
names is it
Hey, Daddy,
suggests that
saying
that's not what's
143.
happening for these individuals.
Well,
Jadsley.
exactly. There's a learning you in a very different
I'm
way
not
to
too
sort of
bad.
relating to you. Because when you're relating, none of that is, you don't have to think about any of that stuff, do you?
Putting
Because when
on
you're sort of
makeup.
running a catalogue of different people, which is very often the case, isn't it? Would you agree with that?
I do.
Very often the case. Then that's pretty complicated. And you do have to kind of think about which, who's doing what. You know, it's a completely different ballgame. And it's not really relating. It's a kind of, you're acting, aren't you?
Yeah, or role assigning. You're not even relating, you're assigning a role. In fact, because people said to me, oh, the reason he called you gorgeous, he called all the women gorgeous. Like, you know, the guys that call every woman babe.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, no, but this wasn't the case with my ex.
No.
He had a name for every single woman. It was a different. So it wasn't like he just had this universal of, oh, I'll never like slip and say the wrong name because I'm just using the same pet name for everybody. No, that actually wasn't what he was doing. He had a different pet name.
His preferred strategy was to sort of label you. That one is, we call her gorgeous. That's
Yes.
what we call her.
Yes.
And she goes back up on the shelf in the box file.
Yes, behind gorgeous, and that one is another name. The girlfriend he was seeing was Lordita, and she was always, her name is Laura, but he would, she was Hispanic, and it was Lordita. He did slip with that. He met another Laura, and he called her that same name, but I knew he was because he's thinking of Lordita. He wasn't thinking of her. He was thinking of the other one. And so I knew it wasn't that he was just universally covering the fact that he was seeing lots of women, which he was. He was seeing so many women, he had cliff notes, literally. He kept in his note, in his phone, a page designated to identifying women, the name of their kids, the ages of the kids, what they did for a job, and things that he would tell them. He had a history, so he could refer to it. So he did have problems with who was who, but he dealt with it differently by actually having a list.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Any opportunity to sort of quite apart from the sort of the gorgeous box on the shelf, any opportunity to sort of, as George Simon calls it, keep you in that one down position. And I heard you talking about that the other day with one of your other interviewees. You were talking about the way that you've got to be kept just slightly unbalanced.
Yes.
And what quicker way and easier way of doing it than by not using your name in a conventional sense, because that's like the gift that just keeps on giving. And I understand that it would be fair to say, well, but no one's thinking about it to this extent. I don't believe that these individuals are thinking about it. I think they behave that way because that's in them to behave that way.
Yeah, I think this is habituated. It's what comes with tons and tons of practice. I think it's almost instinctual for them.
Yeah. At depth, there's something about denying basic humanity as well, isn't there? It's a kind of dehumanizing thing. So there's that superficial irritation and embarrassment, hurt feeling, but actually underneath of that is a very fundamental thing, and it's pretty dehumanizing, I think.
Yeah.
I remember going for a walk.
Support, super support all.
Neighbors.
MK Films, Vijay Pure Official. Hello.
He said, I wonder now if I should have introduced you. And I thought, yeah, see now I know exactly what that was. Whereas if he hadn't said anything, I'd have just thought, well, I chose not to. But afterwards, I realized afterwards that was all just to make sure that I was really uncomfortable.
Yeah. You also reminded me of another thing that they often did. I wonder if you saw this as well, is they often referred to people to their roles more than they actually referred to them by their names. Like, this is my wife. So when we would meet somebody new, he'd say, this is my wife, end of story. He wouldn't say, this is Karen, my wife. He'd say, this is my wife. And then he would move on. Or he would talk about his son a lot, like repetitively, his son, but he wouldn't say his son's name. He would say, my son. He had this way of referring to people.
I didn't
notice that, referring to people by roles instead of referring to them as a person.
Yeah. Almost like this is what they do for me. This is how they relate to my life.
Exactly. And then the last thing that I noticed, it was super weird. It was two more things that was super weird about him. He named all of his sons his name. So he had more than one son, and they both had the same name as his name, first name. Different middle names. That's how they differentiated. One was Junior, and the other he used his second name, which that son didn't like his second name and preferred that he didn't use it. He liked his first, and I thought that was strange that he loved his name so much. He was so much in love with his name that he had to pass it on forever to everybody.
Not like there's a shortage of names. Do you know what I mean? Did he talk about himself in the third person?
That was the other thing
that was a very real thing.
Yes, he didn't, but somebody else I knew did. I met another
guy. Okay, any thoughts?
It just kind of felt like ick from him.
Yeah.
From him, thank goodness. I think it would have. I think I missed a dodged a bullet on that one. But he always referred to him as if almost like not the royal we, but also like the royal third person, like he would, as if he was outside of him, like talking about himself, like a part, like a separate.
Yeah.
How did it show? Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Would literally talk about himself, you know, so and so does this, you know,
And it's him. So and so is him.
his so and so is him. But talking about, I'm just trying to think of an example, and I probably won't be able to off the top of my head. But speaking about himself in the third person, almost as if, well, this is how he is.
Yeah, and the guy that I met used both things. Like, let's just pretend he's John Brown. John Brown opened this new show.
I like that effect.
But you're John Brown.
I like it a lot.
This feels so stiff. I don't even know what to do with this.
It is. That's really odd.
Yeah, so what do you make sense of that? What do you think that's about? Do you have some guesses?
It seems quite grandiose. I mean, I'm not quite sure of the psychology of it. I've never looked into what is the psychology of talking about yourself in the third person. There's a remoteness to that, isn't there? There's a kind of distancing, but it's quite grandiose. I'm not sure. I'd love to know more about that. Actually, I know we do a bit of homework on that.
It does definitely suggest. I know we spent a lot of time in graduate school talking about the I-thou relationship. And it feels like there's a brokenness to the way in which they connect to themselves, but they connect to other people. That you're right. I don't know any more than that either, but it just felt like there's something deeply disturbed with the way in which they experience themselves in the world.
When I think about it, just off the top of my head, it kind of feels like, this person is an entity. There's gravitas there. This person exists, and you know what I mean. It's a kind of doubling down or an underscoring of just being. Like, I don't know. I find it interesting.
It's almost as if they're anchoring themselves, like trying to give themselves self-importance. At the same time, there's like a disconnection with self. To me, and it goes back to what you said, you've talked about sort of spirituality. So I'm thinking about it from that realm, is that when we're in connection with ourselves, we cease to see ourselves as separate. We're in the being experience. And when you're doing this referencing, to me, that's not in a state of being. It's in a state of observing or referencing. You know what I'm saying?
But I think you've kind of probably got us there, actually, because I think if we think about this in terms of existential psychology, the idea of the self existing distinct from me means it's not mortal, it's not fallible, it's untouchable, isn't it? It's kind of over here existing as a thing in its own right, and therefore is kind of is going to live forever.
Yes. I see what you're saying. There is a form of grandiosity to that, because then it can become an idealized representation of what you wish it to be, because it's almost like you created it to be.
Yeah, and it suggests that you're thinking of yourself as this entity that you kind of look at from the outside, and you kind of curate it in your own mind, like, this person, this is what they do, this is how they are. Look at this, and it sort of shows you what might be going on within their own head.
Yeah, I'm grinning because on my ex's Skype account, he had a statement, his sort of like his motto, and it was, "I am the architect of my own destiny." And I thought, to me, it's like, really? That's a little grandiose. I don't think we all have that kind of control. I think first of all, you're lying to yourself. And second of all, I think that's more of a wish than it is a truth.
Yeah, there's a brilliant Sam Harris video. It's a short. Do you like Sam Harris?
CGFVKMGH.
He's a philosopher and a neuroscientist. He does a lot of stuff. He's pretty big, and he does a lot of meditation.
How to deal with losses? Deep breathing is a good start. Counting your blessings is a good start. Sleeping, exercise,
We're all lucky if we don't have some
drinking water.
brain issue or immobility issue. That's luck. If
Yeah, I don't know.
with
That's
intelligence and without, with a decent
tough
family
one.
or with reasonable health. Those are
Um,
fluks.
loss is hard.
If we had the brains to achieve at school, that's luck. It's not because we made it.
I agree. I've always thought. Yeah, I love that, because I've always thought that too. It's like, this is especially when I was dealing with my late husband's cancer and then my oldest son's cancer. The degree that things can go terribly wrong, like catastrophically wrong. We're actually fortunate we don't experience more of that. We're very fragile.
Yeah, but I think this taps into something else you were saying, or we were both saying in a separate conversation about how it can be so mistaken, misguided to spend too much time thinking about someone else, the abuser, because ultimately it misses the point that a lot of this stuff is beyond our control. By factor of being human in the world, a lot of this stuff is beyond our control. But if we think about it and study it, it gives us a sense that we can change it. We could have chosen differently. We would have chosen differently. When a lot of the time, if it could have been different, it would have been different. But it wasn't, because it was always going to go that way. Do you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, because when I'm prone to being anxious. That's one of my sort of like vulnerabilities. When I really push that sort of cognitively out to the limit, I realize that I'm not in control of much at all. Almost nothing.
No.
When we ask who's in control of life, it is not me. I am in coming to terms
Is
with
Brew
that is where I actually
gooning?
find the most
Amara
peace, because I'm still
Rayco.
trying to control all the things that I can.
What does it look
I
like
can't
I'm
remember what we're
doing?
going to say next.
I know. Yeah.
Can I come back to something you said about that gorgeous and your vulnerability? I had my eyelids done. I think I told you this. Before I had them done, the skin hanging from here was really. It was aging me pretty badly, and so I had that blepharoplasty years ago. But that became something that would be commented on was my lovely eyes by
this guy.
and because I knew that wasn't really naturally me. Naturally me, I had to kind of really do this to make my eyes look open.
Yeah.
But commenting on things that were in hide was really painful. But like you're saying about that compliment, it sounds really nice, but actually it's just a source of pain. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I know. Mine did the same thing, but in different ways. And my biggest problem that I'm still trying to heal from, and I don't know if I ever will heal, but I'm working very hard on it, is my self-image. I'm very self-confident in the sense that I know what I'm capable of and I know what I'm not. And I'm kind of comfortable with all of that. And I like who I am. I don't have a whole lot of problems with that. But when it comes to how I perceive to myself being viewed, I have significant issues. And it's very long-standing, like very old history. And so, being an overweight woman, which I've always thought I've overweight, but if you saw me in various stages of my life, there were periods in which I wasn't at all. But I always felt like I existed in a very overweight body. And people told me that I did. So it wasn't just simply dysmorphia in the sense of I thought that I was because I couldn't see myself accurately. No, at the time, it was Twiggy was popular. When I'm never going to be a Twiggy. If I existed today, although now with the Ozempic look, that's a very whole other topic. But we have more permission with women just looking healthy than we used to. I would say I fit perfectly, but I didn't live in a time like that. So my culture saw me as overweight, even though I was not overweight. So I say all that to say, what he would do is he knew that, and he would go into stores and then pick out outfits that first would never look good on me, and then second of all, ask if they carried them in my size in front of everybody. Call the cashier over and ask, and to draw attention to my sensitivity to it, which I tried to play off as if I wasn't sensitive, but meanwhile, I'm interior wishing I could die or that the ground would open up and swallow me. And that has continued to play. It's been very, very hard for me to heal from that. But it's amazing how they sort of identify these vulnerabilities and then use things like calling me gorgeous as a way. It's like a negging, or it reminds me of what Gavin DeBecker talks about, typecasting, where they're deliberately calling out a thing on purpose to create insecurity so that you will then work or resist it or have to do a lot of like psychological processing. It creates pain. That's what he was doing. He's creating psychological pain every time he used that word. Because I would go like, does he really think that about me? Or is he just saying that because he knows that he doesn't, and it's sort of it's a pun.
Okay, now let's try the risky maneuver.
Isn't it a way of
I'm going
you onto
dark.
their
I don't know if I'm going brown, blue, or black. I was thinking. I was thinking blue, but now I just don't know.
Which comes back to something else we talked about why if it really has to be an inside job. For example, if somebody kept commenting on my eyes and I knew that
I'll try the blue.
they were not,
like it's a bit of a
wasn't naturally like
sparkle.
that. Now, I would instantaneously, regardless of how amazing I thought this person was, what great sex we're having, what holidays we have booked, I'm going. Like, there's not even a shred of doubt that would be a deal breaker, and I wouldn't need evidence either. It would be purely based on how that felt.
I love that. That's fascinating. I've been having an interesting experiment for me. And that is, I mentioned to you off air that my oldest son has decided he's ready to date. It's taken him a while to be ready to do this, and all my kids are autistic, so they're just at different stages. They get through these stages at different stages. And he and I were at a concert. It was a very large concert. We were sitting next to each other, and he said, I don't think you know who I'm attracted to. I think you have in your head the wrong perspective of the kind of woman I'm looking for, or how broad my category actually is. Because
was he right? Did you have a?
I did. Because here's the backstory of my son. My son at one point weighed a lot, and he on purpose lost more than 100 pounds.
Wow.
And so who you see today, he's skinny today. He's a thin man, not even normally average. He's thin today. And so I assume, and he's very careful about his weight, and he's very conscientious, and he's put effort into his appearance. So I thought, he's going to be one of these people who are sort of like uptight about this. That's what I assumed. Because I'm uptight about it, and I don't win in that category. He's uptight about it enough, and then he won. He was successful and lost all that weight and kept it up. I thought that he would be as equally particular about the woman he met that she'd have to do the same. And then he started pointing women out, and I'm like, what? It doesn't fit anything what I thought. Your category is wide. Like, he goes like, Mom, seriously, I don't frankly care a whole lot about what she looks like. I want to meet a certain type of person. I'm thinking, I realized how something's broken inside of me, and that these people outside of me had helped me, and then of course that I did it myself. It's an inside job. Broke something in me about acceptability.
I was going to say, what did that feel like for you to notice that he doesn't care?
I know, it's freeing, but scary. Scary because here's the thing: he's not the only. Not all men are like him. I know that. I've met men who actually have been cruel to me. For being, I had a date one time that I showed up. I could see across the parking lot. We got out of the car. Disappointment flashed, and at that point, I was 30 pounds thinner than I am right now. He was disappointed that I was overweight, and then he came and he made it a walking date, and he walked too fast, and by the end of it, I had serious blisters on my feet. And I felt he was mad that I wasted his time. But what I didn't say, this is the part that I get really frustrated with. What I should have said to myself, this person is sick. It's not my problem, and I'm not going to be the punching bag. He gets to work out his anger about women and how women look, and he doesn't get to work it out with me. I should have just looked, you know what, dude, I can tell already this is a no-go. Nice meeting you, bye.
Yeah, exactly.
But I stuck it out and ended up with massive blisters on my feet.
Yeah.
I don't want to be her anymore. I'd like to stop being her.
So would I.
Yeah.
And I feel like the universe is going to keep sending us
I
those
feel like
people
the
until
makeup
we
I do is
finally
always
get
so
the
clowny.
message, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I'm finding anyway.
Yeah. So let's jump over to the podcast extra and talk about
Trying to,
how
like,
we start to find that for
wipe my
ourselves. How do we
brush.
take ourselves? How do we recognize that we're doing the inside job in around this healing of being when we've been objectified? Because that's really what we've been talking about.
No,
Is weird
I'll go back to
objectification
this
that toxic
brown
people
and then
do.
touch
Let's
this
talk
up
about
a
how do
little
we
bit here.
recognize that and begin to heal from it. But thank you so much for this really fascinating conversation.
Good to see you again, Kerry.
Okay, well, it's more even. Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Should I apply blue? No, not blue. What am I trying to say? I feel like I should apply some sparkle on top of the blue, like right here. Okay. I'm liking the blue. Now, I kind of want to go put this clump over here. I don't think I'll put a lot of this on because it kind of goes on intermittently. And I don't want to spend the entire time. I want it to be even out, but it seems like this is challenging. I don't know. Maybe I can just kind of spread it. I like its effect. As far as like adding the shimmer, that was effective. No new comments? Okay. Okay. I think it's a finished look. I don't know. I probably should do more. Where are all the people who do makeup? They're not in the chat today. It's sad. Yeah. But okay. That is the look I am going with. Okay. Well, I am doing my berry stream. Like, I'm hoping for 9 p.m. my time. I guess I should finish my look. But, yeah. The berry stream should be 9 p.m., but I don't know. I don't know yet. Pacific time. Whoa.
Not all wars are visible. There are a lot of wars that are happening silently behind closed.
Yeah. Okay. Oops. That is the new look. Okay. Okay, that is my finished look, I think. I want to learn how to use this, though. This is supposed to be liquid eyeliner. I'm just not sure how to apply it very well. I might need to throw away this liquid liner. Or it's just because I applied it after, and I should have applied it first. Okay, that's basically my finished look. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Especially thank you for commenting because it gives me something to work with. Yeah, like as I said, yeah, Berry stream, 9 p.m. and sleep stream. Other than that, thank you for joining. Have a great day. Bye.